Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Oh, the blessing of growing up poor, right? Let's talk about Christmas toys that we never got. This is back in 1978. Some of the items I'm telling you about, and I'll start off with the Green Machine. That's right, the Green Machine. I didn't get the Green Machine, and I believe it came out in 1978 because my parents bought me something else. The Green Machine, had the two levers, and they bought me a Hot Wheels one that had, just like motorcycle handles, right? But I always wanted to try the Green Machine, but it was a little bit pricier, so I got the lower tier, the lower tier item at that time, and this was, oh man, I want to say, yeah, it's about 78, 79 around there. It was a big item, and some of my friends got it for Christmas. I got the other one, but it was still cool. I wasn't, it wasn't like I was without, but I really wanted to try it, and I tried it with my friends, and it was harder for me to maneuver. I had gotten so used to the handlebars with my Hot Wheels that I couldn't drive theirs, and I remember eventually growing out of it, like I was too big for it, and I was just like really sad because that's one of my favorite toys of all time. Were those three-wheeled tricycles, right? They're so awesome. Just going down the sidewalk when we still had sidewalks. Well, that's one of the things that I see now. There's no kids playing out. I live in a neighborhood where, let's see here, there's there's no kids to my right or left. My right neighbor is like a super uh, all American Trump supporter. He's a white dude. The My other neighbor is also white, but they're like Jehovah's Witnesses or something like that. They're very conservative. And then after that, there's a mixed family that has kids, and those kids are never playing out. In front of me are two Hispanic families because I live in a cul-de-sac. In front of me are two Hispanic families that have a bunch of kids, and they're never out for any reason. I never see them out like we used to play. We were always out in the streets. As a matter of fact, when I take my grandkids outside, we're the only ones. There's nobody else playing. It's a trip, man. Times have changed. So I'll start off with that one. The second one was Stretch Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong I didn't get because I really, really, really wanted Batman and Robin. I was back then. I was obsessed with the Batman cartoons, and I wanted Stretch Armstrong. Like I seen it in the commercials, and I really wanted it. But my family could only afford one toy, and at that point there was a set of Batman and Robin, so I could get two for the price of one. So, as a little kid, that's what I opted for, right? I wanted Batman and Robin set, and I could never get the Stretch Armstrong, and it was just one of those things that whenever I got a Christmas present, all my family members would chip in for the one present. That was it. That was the way it worked, right? Um, and I really wanted it, and my friends wanted it. Now, when I discovered that when I was poor, is that I told a friend that I had the Batman and Robin, back in the day we were in school. He says, "Why don't you come over to my house? I have some action figures too, and we can play." And I was okay. My friend was from Brazil. This is, I grew up abroad, right? My parents had sent me out for school because they didn't want me growing up in the U.S. Believe it or not, the U.S. school system has been screwed for a really long time. We're not that great, guys. When people think of education, they never think of the U.S. As a matter of fact, when it comes to, if you ask foreigners what the dumbest country is, man, a lot of times the U.S. will come up because just our social media shows up there, right? And we're the ones doing buffoonery and crap on the internet, on TikTok and all those stuff. But anyway, um, so I go to this kid's house, and this guy had a drawer. You know how you have a drawer set for, let me see, left, right, this one. Okay, just a drawer set like to this high. So this is like 4.5 feet, right? And he has drawers for like clothes. This dude had drawers of action figures. He had them all. He had the Hulk, Spider-Man. He had things that I hadn't even seen. He had X-Men. It was crazy. This guy had drawers full of just action figures and nobody to play with. And this, I walk into this house. It looked like the Brady Bunch house, just bigger, just a huge version of the Brady Bunch house. Man, it was what a great time we had. His name was Peter. And he was from Brazil. Man, and he had the Stretch Armstrong, so I got I got to experience back then. So Stretch Armstrong, right? And I did get it eventually. I bought it for my kids, when they were little, and I ended up pulling them apart. They destroyed them. Now, one that I never got, guys. One that I never got that wasn't even in the realms of possibility. Is an action figure that I so wanted. I would dream about it, but I never asked for it because it was so expensive. And to this day, it's still expensive, right? And that was a $6 million man action figure, man. And I always said, "Oh, I'm gonna get it." And then video games came into my life. That's when I really stopped thinking about the $6 million man action figures. When video games came along, once video games along, that was it, man. I didn't have time for anything else. Just video games. These are my fantasies come true, right? My virtual reality. But yeah, the $6 million man was something that I wanted, and I remember this one. It was like a second cousin, and he got it, and he loved teasing me with it, just torturing me because he knew that I wanted it. He knew how bad I wanted it. He was well off, and he was just like, "Oh, look, it does this," and he would never let me play with it ever. He would just show me like the figure had the arm that you could take off. You could see the arm was bionic, and you can see through the back of his eye. Like he showed me everything. He showed me the legs, how they were bionic, but I could never touch it. Man, that was one right where I always remember like, oh man. The other thing that I never got, guys, was the Intellivision. The Intellivision because I had gotten, the Atari. My family had gotten together. Two of my aunts, they were working, and they got together. It was like a family project to get me the Atari, man, and I was so grateful. And man, it was awesome. And then my mom used to work at a department store called Montgomery Wards, and we would get these catalogs, and my sisters and I, we would go just skim through the catalogs, and we would pick out toys that we wanted. We knew we were never going to get them, right? But the game was within the catalog. This is my toy. I found it first, whatever. And I always remember looking at pictures in the catalogs, and we would get other catalogs too. But the one that stands out to me was Astro Smash. Like I always wanted to play Astro Smash. It looked so good. It looked a lot better than Space Invaders on the Atari. It just looked great. And I saw the games, and I would see the commercials, like, oh, television's so much better than Atari, and I'd be like, oh, but I couldn't even ask. I couldn't even ask because it was even in the realms of possibility. There is no way. Like my family had done so much just to give me the Atari that I would have been like an ungrateful fool if I wanted to, ask for a television also. I wasn't that kind of kid that was spoiled and stuff like that. So I always admired it from afar, and it wasn't until I went to my friend Gabriel's house that I was able to play it, and I was just like, this is exactly how they described it, and that's one of the reasons, the Sprint, and I've been following the Intellivision, sagas over the years and stuff. That's why it's been something of interest on mine, and, now I have the Sprint, so the circle is now complete, right? And there's always those things you look back with nostalgia, and then you eventually get over them, but you remember those moments in Christmas where you're like, man, I didn't get it, and sometimes when you're growing up, man, there was Christmases we didn't get squat, it's just the way it was. We were just trying to survive, especially after my dad passed away. But even with that, it was just, we had some pretty decent Christmases, and I'm glad that I was able to get the things that I got. The Hot Wheels trike was awesome, and my Atari was amazing, but there's always those certain things, my Batman and Robin figures. I love that. I love that because I got them on release. But there's always those items that get away, right? There's other things that the Transor Z was really big outside the country. It's called Messenger Z, and again, that was a toy that was super expensive, because it was made out of metal, is imported from Japan, and those of you from the era that, especially if you're outside of the U.S., you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was as big as Voltron outside the country, and there's statues to this robot. Let me tell you, if you've never seen the cartoon. And those are my misses for Christmas, right? Those are the things that I never got, that I think fondly about, takes me back through the time, and I try to make it happen for my grandkids now, right? For my grandkids, not so much my daughter. My daughter's 2 right now, you know, and I bought her all this stuff, all this learning stuff, that she's supposed to learn with. And my daughter, she already knows the ABCs, because my wife teaches her and all that stuff. But as far as the toys, the expensive toys that I bought her, these interactive toys, she hardly plays with them. She plays with a sponge right now. She likes the spatula. She likes anything that her mom has, right? Like if she sees her mom doing her makeup, she wants those makeup things. So I bought a separate set of makeup just for her to play, because she doesn't play with her toys. But I don't know what the toys of tomorrow will bring, man. But I'm sure glad that I'm able to give my kiddos and grandkids and everybody else a happy Christmas now, guys. But we will always remember fondly those things that we never got, right? Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I wish that you are having a very happy Christmas out there. I hope that you're having days off like I am, enjoying the family, reminiscing about this stuff. A lot of the subjects that I'm going to come on here and talk about are things that are conversations that I'm having, with family members and stuff. And when we talk about it a little bit, I reminisce, and memories come to mind. So that's what I'll be talking about these holidays. And, hopefully you guys will too out there, and you're having a great Christmas. And if you're not, man, if you're on the struggle like I was back in the day, there's so many Christmases where I was working on Christmas because I needed to provide for my kids. I worked Christmas, New Year's, my birthday. There was no special days. It was just work, right? And if you're a man working out there for your family, much respect to you, man. Much respect to you, because you're making other people's lives better, and that will be your legacy. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.